Roman numerals, A's and B's, periods, parentheses. Putting together an outline can just be extremely frustrating when you don't know what goes where. Well, today I'm going to try to reduce the frustration. Hopefully I can answer the question for you of how you can create a formal outline. But a quick review. When are you likely to use an outline, either formally or informally? When you're preparing a speech, drafting a paper, writing an email message, organizing a to-do list, studying a chapter, or even creating a PowerPoint presentation. Anytime you need to organize or remember something, you can outline. It helps if you understand that outlining is based upon two principles, subordination and coordination. The concept of subordination says that not all points are created equal, that you would have a Roman numeral 1 that might be your main point, and underneath that you have subpoints. They are lower than that. They're still important, but they're not as important as the superordinate point. That's the point above them. And then under each of the A's and B's, you would have also some subpoints. So here you have subpoint 1 and 2 that are supporting the B subpoint. So those are subordinate to the B subpoint. The B subpoint is subordinate to the Roman numeral subpoint. The concept of coordination says that those that are on the same level are about of equal importance. If you're looking at your main points as Roman numerals 1, 2, and 3, those we say are coordinate with each other. They are about equal in importance. The A and the B subpoints, which are subordinate to the Roman numeral 1 subpoint that you see, they are coordinate with each other. So while they are less important than the main points, they're about equally important when you compare them to each other. What should a formal outline look like? Well, we will focus on some of the general parts, the consistency, the balance, and related to balance, the fact that you shouldn't have very many, if any, single subpoints, and then the nuts and bolts, including the numbering scheme, those margins, and then capitalizations. Generally, the outline should be as detailed as the need or the professor requires. For my students, I ask them to go to at least the third level of an outline, which are the little 1s and 2s that you see in the sample. It should be reasonably balanced in detail. You shouldn't have one section that is significantly shorter or have less weight than another section unless it's intentional. Try to avoid single subpoints. One of the concepts here is that if there's an A, there should be a B. If there's a 1, there should be a 2. Now there can be a C, D, or E, and there can be a 3, 4, and 5, but if you're going to have a subpoint, then you need to subdivide. You're going to have at least 2. Technically, you can use a single subpoint, but that would be if you're using an isolated example to support. To make it easy for yourself and easy for whoever may be grading it, like a professor, try to avoid single subpoints. Be consistent in numbering, in capitalization, and in spacing. And then we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail later. Use alphanumeric or full sentence style. Try to be consistent throughout your outline. And of course, please proofread. Most people have difficulty determining when to use Roman numerals, when to use A's and B's, and the like. This slide should help you get this perfect. Although my students are not required to go lower than the third level in outlining, I'm going to show you how to go all the way to the 6th level. Your main points are the first level, and you identify those by using uppercase Roman numerals followed by a period, and then you tab over to start your first sentence. The second level uses capital letters and again uses a period. For the third level, we use Arabic numbers, again followed by a period. Then we move to lowercase letters, followed by a period for the fourth level. This is usually the level most students stop at. Even though I only require you to go to the third level, sometimes you'll go to the fourth. But if you need to go to the 5th level, the scheme changes a bit. Now we use Arabic numbers that are enclosed by parentheses rather than set off by period. And on the 6th level, we use lowercase letters, also enclosed by parentheses. Notice the alignment of the numbers and the words. We'll talk about that a little bit more when we talk about hanging indents and margins. How much detail should you include in an outline? Again, it depends upon what your professor requires and what you're comfortable with if it's your own personal outline. Owl at Purdue talks about alphanumeric and full sentence outlines. Alphanumeric outlines are putting it down in phrases rather than complete sentences. And a full sentence outline, well, what a surprise, it's writing it down in full sentences. A full sentence outline is essentially a manuscript that you've just fit into an outline form. Turning next to margins and the concept of hanging indents. You'll see that there's a lot of white space in this full sentence outline. And that's because if I were going to be delivering a speech or writing a paper, I want to quickly be able to figure out where I am, and the white space helps you. But as much as it helps you, when you're trying to put an outline together, it's frustrating to actually do this. This is a hanging indent. You'll notice that the Roman numeral starts at the left margin, and then you would tab over and start, in this case, the sentence. Knitting has a very interesting history, although it's difficult to pinpoint where and when it began. Notice that the word where does not show up under the Roman numeral 1. Instead, it shows up under the first letter of the sentence above it. You'll notice as well that it's not just under the major point, the first Roman numeral, that you'll see a hanging indent, but it's under each additional point underneath. Capitalization is also an area where students can get marked down on a formal outline. You capitalize the first letter of the first word after the Roman numeral or after the A. It's not a combination of upper and lowercase letters. It's just that the first letter has to be capitalized. Quiz time. What are the concepts of coordination and subordination, and what do they have to do with outlines? Which levels in an outline are coordinate with each other and which are subordinate with each other? What needs to be capitalized in an outline? And finally, what role do hanging indents play in outlining? Hopefully now you have a better understanding and you won't be scratching your head about those 1s and 2s and A's and B's. Enjoy outlining.